All right, so by now you've almost certainly heard of virtual reality, and you've probably seen the word metaverse floating around the internet. What are we talking about, and how does this stuff apply to journalism? That's what we're looking at now. As part of Unit 3, we're looking at virtual reality and social VR. So I'm personally obsessed with immersive storytelling. And at Our Stories, the media company that I work at, we're trying to build the world's most immersive storytelling company by 2030. We want people to feel like they're in a story. And the reason that is because if you can see the world through somebody else's perspective, if you can put yourself in their point of view, we believe it'll create more empathy and understanding. And there's been a lot of research to suggest the same. In fact, I was once at the United Nations where they were testing the ability for people to immerse themselves in a Syrian refugee camp. And they wanted to find out if that would generate more empathy and attention than a traditional television video about a Syrian refugee camp, because you feel like you're in it. I've been experimenting with 360-degree video, basically having cameras in all directions, for a couple of years now. Way back in 2014, 2015, I covered the Zuma Must Fall protest. There was massive protests taking place in South Africa, calling for the downfall of President Jacob Zuma. End of the bridge to the other. This is a protest that is taking place across the country, and these protesters all singing largely the same chant. Zuma Must Fall! Zuma Must Fall!
And what does this mean, especially for reporting and for ENCA and the kind of work that is going to be produced for online?
You know, Kathy, we constantly get criticized when we cover protests, when we cover marches. Of course, the hashtag Fees Must Fall was one where people said, oh, the media weren't showing all sides of the story. This really gives us the opportunity for the viewer to be in the driver's seat, to experience it. They can't accuse us of not showing them something or editing. They're right there, they're living the moment. It's by far the most immersive form of storytelling we've ever experienced. We're so excited, it's just a new frontier. Television has changed substantially over the last 100 years, but yet it stayed the same. You're watching it on a flat screen. This is something else. It means that we're not specifically editing shots out, we're giving people exposure, and that's really what people want. They want to derive at their own conclusions at a story, and especially if you're looking at a protest like this, it's quite a historic event. It may never happen again, and this allows people to go back to it in many years to come and experience what it was like to be there on the ground. So for me, virtual reality journalism is good for a bunch of things. Sometimes it's about situations where you wouldn't be able to get there. Like you wouldn't be able to experience what it's like to be in a cockpit of a fighter pilot, but you could go through a VR experience and see what that's like. Or VR is also good for something else, and that's places you wouldn't necessarily want to be. I wouldn't necessarily want to be inside an Ebola relief clinic.
It was the beginning of the worst Ebola outbreak in history.
If you go to the morgue, you see dead bodies, 15, 16, 17, 18, dead bodies all in body bags.
You are at an Ebola treatment center. Everything beyond the orange fence is potentially contaminated with the virus.
Or on the front lines of a COVID center, but I might want to see what's going on inside. And I think virtual reality is an incredibly powerful way to immerse people in those environments. Now, many publishers around the world have done fantastic jobs of creating virtual reality projects. We've seen CNN take us to the front lines of the Syrian civil war. We've seen Clouds Over Sidra, which is a fantastic Syrian piece.
There are more kids in Zaatari than adults right now. I am from Syria in the Dar'a province in Khil City. I like cloudy days. I feel like I am under a cover, like a blanket.
But a lot of those are passive consumption, where you're simply watching something play out in the virtual reality landscape. I'm really interested in social VR, and that's when you're interacting with things, making decisions, meeting other human beings. And that's why some of the new products that are coming out, such as Meta Horizon Worlds or Rec Room, are really exciting. In these environments, you are in a VR experience, but you're in a community, you're meeting other individuals. When COVID-19 first hit, and we didn't know much about the virus, I was able to use this technology to actually meet up with young people in Italy.
The first weeks, many Italians were going outside, and I was like, I stay home.
We are in lockdown for 3 weeks here in South Africa, but in other parts of the world, they've been in lockdown for longer. So I am in a social VR, a social virtual reality world, and I'm able to engage with people from Italy who have been in lockdown for over a month.
It's me and Pat and Zyphon.
14-year-olds who are living in Milan.
I think every country in general
they should not open everything. They should keep everyone indoors.
And asked them what was going on, what was lockdown like, what was it like having no school at a time where the rest of the world didn't really know what was happening and hadn't been through all of that yet. So social VR is in its infancy, but there's so much we can do in this space. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking you don't own a virtual reality headset, and maybe a lot of your friends don't, and is this really a big part of journalism, or is it a niche? Here's what I'll tell you. One, good VR experiences should be able to be consumed on a mobile phone, like a 360 video. So it should work here, but it should also work on a phone for people that don't have it. Another thing to consider are these cardboard headsets. These are worth like a couple dollars. They're made of cardboard. You can put your phone inside and you can watch VR, or you can watch a 360 video. The New York Times sent out cardboard units to all of their subscribers because that's how much they believe that VR might be a big part of the journalism landscape. For me, I don't think people are going to spend the majority of their day in the future immersed in a virtual reality headset. I think the world is more interesting, and that's why the lesson that we just had on augmented reality, on layering the internet onto the existing world as opposed to being immersed in a new world, is more interesting to me. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This was Unit 3, looking at all these new camera technologies where they look at augmented reality, drone journalism, or virtual reality. Thanks so much for watching. Let's keep going through this Fabo module.